Chapter 19 to 21. Goten held a piece of fluffy grass in his mouth. As he was exhausted from training, he was resting against a rock under a shade of tree. Vidal's sudden appearance caught him off guard. Although he recognized her, after all, she was Gohan's wife in the original Dragon Ball series. Her presence here made no sense. Because this time, Gohan had been killed during Cell Games, so there was no possibility for the two of them to meet. However, Vidal actually appeared in Mount Pauzo at this time, which made him feel a little puzzled. He guessed that her visit might have something to do with the harsh warning he gave to Satan before. After all, Satan was Vidal's father. And in Vidal's mind, she had always regarded her father as a superhero and her role model. She had no doubts about his strength. Then, the things Goten said 2 months ago about her father seemed to have shaken Vidal's father and caused their family a lot of trouble. "You are son Goten?" Vidal walked directly in front of Goten and asked. Her voice held both curiosity and surprise. Because Goten, who was seen on live TV before, had extremely indifferent eyes. Back then, he'd exuded a menacing intensity. Now he appeared different, lazy, almost. The murderous aura that once clung to him had dissipated. He looked like a lazy, handsome boy next door. His demeanor was far removed from what she saw in the live broadcast before. "I am Goten," he replied, his tone casual. "What can I do for you?" he asked. "You jerks." Vidal's voice snapped with anger. "Do you realize the damage your words caused to my father's reputation 2 months ago? By the way," she continued, her gaze unwavering, "my father is Mr. Satan, the reigning world fighting champion." These past 2 months had been tormenting for her father. Countless media reporters and relentless interviewers scrambled to crush their thresholds for gossip. This incident had visibly aged him. She had wanted to confront Goten and seek explanation for a while now, but it was hard to locate him. Vidal's frustration grew. Even with her contacts, she had to search tirelessly for 2 whole months before she could find this remote place. Finding this remote place had been extremely challenging and frustrating, and there seemed to be no signs of anyone else living here except Goten. "So, you are Mr. Satan's daughters," Goten drawled. "What do you want? Are you here to defend your father's despicable deeds?" Goten's tone remained lazy. He looked at Vidal and asked lightly, "Or perhaps you're here to teach me a lesson on his behalf." Vidal's trust in her father bordered on blind worship. Why did you frame my father before?" she demanded. 8 years ago, it was my father who defeated Cell, granting us 8 years of peace. Yet, just because of your few words, everyone questioned my father," Vidal said indignantly. "Do you grasp how humiliating this is for a world fighting champion, for the savior of mankind?" Although she also doubted her father with how silly he was sometimes, but for her, in this world, her father was the strongest existence, and it was widely accepted. But just because of Goten's previous appearance and what he said, the situation had completely changed now. "Oh." Goten narrowed his eyes slightly. He stood up and walked directly in front of Vidal. The 2 years of training in the hyperbolic time chamber had transformed him, making him taller, more imposing. He was almost as big as Vidal. After all, girls in Dragon Ball were relatively petite, and Science had the characteristic of sudden growth spurts, as Gohan explained to Piccolo in the movie version of Dragon Ball Superheroes. Goku also went from a kid to a tall, handsome guy in just 3 years when he was a young. "Framed, you say? The word you used is woefully inaccurate." "Let's be honest," Goten retorted. "With your father's half-baked skills, do you really think he can fight with Cell that could easily destroy the planet?" "For someone like him," Goten continued, "Cell would be able to crush him into meat paste with one finger." "Allow me to enlighten you," he pressed on. 8 years ago, it was Son Goku and Son Gohan who battled Cell. My father and brother. His words hung heavy in the air. "They sacrificed their lives." Goten's voice softened. "To secure this fragile peace we enjoyed. Yet the glory they earned with their blood was despicably usurped by Satan." "Disgusting," he spat. "Do you not find this reprehensible?" Goten's eyes narrowed. "And if your father was really that powerful, why did he nearly wet himself when he faced me? If he truly defeated Cell, why didn't he dare let out a peep in my presence? The brain," he concluded, "is meant to be used. It's not a mere decoration. Use your brain and think about it." Goten's lazy tone took on a hint of indifference. Vidal, usually sharp-witted, found herself utterly perplexed. She didn't expect to be so confused right now. She had naively believed that her father, Satan, could defeat Cell and save the world. It was the grandest joke. Vidal hesitated, her gaze locked onto Goten's condescending posture, and, hearing his indifferent tone, she felt silent. If her father truly possessed the strength to annihilate Cell, why had he quivered in fear before this mere boy? The humiliation played out globally, and everyone saw that scene clearly. For a world-fighting champion and savior, such shame and humiliation was unbearable. Vidal's mind raced. Come to think of it, she had never seen her father train diligently. He had been really lazy all these years. If it was as Goten claimed, it was his father and brother, Son Goku and Son Gohan, who had faced Cell. Impossible. All along, she thought that her father was strong. He was the hero in her heart, the savior of the world. How is this possible? Yet, in this moment, her unwavering belief crumbled. Videl was in a state of disbelief. This is impossible. How can my father be such a person? She questioned, her voice barely above a whisper. Even though she wanted to believe Goten's words, the reality was hard to accept. The belief she had held onto for over a decade was now crumbling, leaving her in a state of disbelief. Goten, noticing her struggle, decided to demonstrate his power. Look carefully, he said calmly, and an energy ball instantly condensed in the palm of his hand. With a swift motion, he blasted it towards a mountain opposite them. Rumble. Accompanied by a violent explosion, the mountain peak immediately turned into dust, leaving Videl in awe. Do you think your father has this kind of power? Goten asked. Videl was taken aback. She hadn't seen clearly how the mountain exploded. Goten hadn't even touched the mountain. According to her father's words, this was definitely some kind of hoax. Did you use a trick just now? She asked innocently, echoing her father's belief that anything unexplainable by science must be a trick. Goten shook his head helplessly. Then his body leaped lightly, and he disappeared directly into a stream of light. It seemed like introducing this kind of thing to Videl was simply like playing the flute to the cow. T/N. In Eastern culture, flutes are used by snake charmers to charm snakes. It doesn't have any effect on cow. So, he's saying that it is basically pointless.
P.S.
A random thought. She doesn't even have those moves. 3. How is she a cow? Videl was left dumbfounded. That Goten, he can fly. He disappeared in front of her in an instant. Is this also a trick? No. Absolutely impossible. This shouldn't be a trick. Darn it. I must find you and see what mysteries you have. Videl clenched her fists tightly and said through gritted teeth. Goten had sparkled a curiosity in Videl that she couldn't ignore. She was determined to understand him better. But for now, he had disappeared from her sight. With no other option, she left Mount Paozu in her helicopter, vowing to find Goten again one day and unravel the mystery surrounding him. As days turned into weeks, Goten found himself in a rare state of tranquility. Videl didn't pursue him, and even Krillin did not visit. During this time, Goten's strength stabilized, reaching the midterm level of a Super Saiyan 2. He was confident that if he were to face full-powered Cell now, he could easily defeat him without resorting to Ultra Instinct. While engrossed in training, Goten suddenly sensed unfamiliar key signatures approaching Earth. These key signatures were stronger than those of ordinary Earthlings and were closing in rapidly. Who could it be? Goten wondered aloud. The key signatures weren't particularly strong, but they felt oddly familiar. Sensing their approach, Goten halted his training. He felt these key signatures were approaching his location quickly. Was their target perhaps himself? Sensing their approach, Goten decided to stand still and wait. After a few seconds, he confirmed that these people were obviously here for him. 10 minutes later, a massive shadow appeared in the sky, accompanied by a deafening sound that was unlike anything Videl's helicopter could produce. The shadow engulfed the sky and within seconds, landed in front on Goten. It was a galactic spaceship, strikingly similar to those spaceships of Frisia Legion. Could it be the Frisia Legion spaceship? Goten mused, but he quickly dismissed the idea. The power of these guys is very weak. The power of these newcomers was too weak to be Frisia's, and besides, Frisia had been defeated by future Trunks. Moreover, Frisia's fighting power was at least 100 million, a level these newcomers couldn't possibly reach. Just when Goten was wondering, the hatch of the galactic spaceship opened, and a group of people emerged, lining up neatly in 2 rows. They fellows were clearly galactic soldiers. An elderly man with gray hair and a single eye, wearing the old combat uniform of the Frisia Legion, slowly walked out of spaceship. Goten recognized him immediately. Paragus, he muttered to himself in surprise. It was Broly's father, Paragus. Paragus approached Goten and placed his right hand on his chest in a gesture of respect, a traditional Saiyan salute to the strong. Hello, son Goten-san, allow me to introduce myself. My name is Paragus, he greeted politely. Yet his eyes held a ruthless and gloomy look. It was a stark reminder of the ferocity inherent in a pure Saiyan. This guy, how did he find me? Scratch that, how the hell does he know me? Goten thought, puzzled. He had been relatively unknown on Earth until his battle with Cell 2 months ago. It was also because of that battle with Cell that he was known to all people on Earth. And as far as he knew, Paragus and Broly resided in the Southern Galaxy. The Northern and Southern Galaxy were at 2 extremes. It was surprising that Paragus had managed to locate him on Earth in the Northern Galaxy in such a short time. Furthermore, He didn't expect him to be quite well informed and find him in just 2 months after the battle with Cell. Goten responded with a nonchalant air. Your identity doesn't concern me. What I want to know is why you're here on Earth. What business do you have with me? He paused for a moment before adding, if your reasons aren't satisfactory, I won't hesitate to make you leave. Goten's interest in Paragus was minimal. However, when it came to Paragus' son, Broly, Goten's curiosity was piqued. Broly was a pure legendary scion, and that fact alone was enough to intrigue Goten. Upon hearing Goten's words, Paragus' eyes twitched uncontrollably. A look of worry flashed across his face, quickly replaced by a fierce determination in his eyes. About 2 months ago, he had discovered the energy signature of this scion hybrid boy through advanced monitoring technology due to an alert caused by a huge clash of 2 energy signatures. The data showed that the fighters possessed immense strength, surpassing all scions from planet Vegeta, including King Vegeta himself. After sending scouts to gather information, he found out all the information about the boy and decided to visit the planet to deal with the boy. Paragus already knew that if Goten wished, he could eliminate them with a mere flick of his fingers. Therefore, he felt that it was best to stay away from him as far away as possible. However, he harbored grand ambitions to rule the universe. This boy could potentially become a hindrance to his plans. His terrifying potential and strength at such a young age were alarming. If allowed to mature, the repercussions could be catastrophic. Thus, Paragus' plan was to eliminate him before he could fully grow. Despite the boy's current strength, Paragus was confident that he was no match for his son, Broly. His intention was to use Broly to eradicate this half-blood nuisance, clearing all obstacles in his path to universal domination. Are you Kakarot's son? Paragus asked. I was once a close comrade of your grandfather, Bardock. He continued, I've sought you out because you carry the blood of the Scions and possess great power. I believe you have the potential and capability to rebuild our Scion race and ascend as the new Scion King. This is also the purpose of my visit. Please, do not reject my humble request. With these words, Paragus knelt on one knee. He appeared quite sincere. However, Goten, being a transmigrator, was well aware of his true intentions. Paragus might not be strong, but he was ambitious. With Broly's formidable talent, he likely already ruled the entire southern galaxy. To rule the universe, he needed to eliminate all obstacles, and Goten had become one such obstacle in his eyes. Oh, King of Scions. Goten responded with a playful smile. Sounds intriguing. He didn't care about the title of King of Scions. In the vast universe, the title was insignificant and couldn't bring him any benefits. In this dangerous world, what truly mattered was absolute power. Goten wasn't particularly interested in becoming King of Scions, but he was interested in Broly. That guy had the legendary Scion bloodline. With that mutated bloodline, his power increased daily, even without training. If Goten could acquire his mutated bloodline, his strength would undergo a significant transformation. Through the system's capabilities, he might be able to acquire that bloodline in a battle with Broly.
Yeah.
Paragus quickly agreed. As long as you ascend as the King of Scions, the entire universe will bow at your feet. We, your subjects, will naturally follow your lead. In truth, Paragus had initially planned to bring Broly directly to Earth to eliminate Goten. However, once Broly lost control, he would transform into an uncontrollable fighting machine without any conscience. Earth, with its favorable living conditions, was an ideal base for him after he conquered the universe. It would be regrettable if it were destroyed during the battle. Hence, he decided against bringing Broly directly. Rule the universe? That sounds fantastic. Goten responded after feigning hesitation. All right, I accept your proposals. The allure of Broly's mutated bloodline was indeed irresistible. It's wonderful. An excited look appeared on Paragus' face. Our base camp is in the southern galaxy. Do you need to prepare? Internally, he was overjoyed. He had expected to put in some effort, but to his surprise, Goten was swayed by a few words. He assumed Goten was dreaming of becoming a king. He dismissed Goten as a naive child who was easily deceived. Little did he know that upon reaching the southern galaxy, it would be his end. No need for preparations, I can't wait. Goten retorted nonchalantly. Indeed, he couldn't wait to experience the power of the legendary Super Saiyan. While he was at it, he could even acquire the legendary Super Saiyan bloodline, which would undoubtedly yield substantial benefits. Great! If this is the case, then let's hurry over. Paragus was equally impatient. He really couldn't wait to rule the universe. The environment on this planet is indeed good. After this half-breed brat is completely eliminated, this place will be made into our base camp, he thought to himself. As for the humans on this planet, they will be completely wiped out. My esteemed king, please come on the spaceship with us. Paragus implored, standing upright and placing his right hand over his heart in a gesture of great respect. However, The moment Goten turned his back, a sinister grin stealthily crept onto his face. In no time, everyone embarked on the galactic spaceship. With a thunderous roar, the galactic spacecraft departed Earth within mere seconds. The journey to the southern galaxy, even aboard a galactic spaceship equipped with the most advanced technology, would span a full 3 days.